Hello, hi. Some of you who watched my videos and decided to reach out to me, and based on some of the questions that you guys ask, I think I'm going to make a few videos to sort of universally address certain issues that you guys might have. So this video specifically is for, I would say Web3 people who don't have video game production experience. So I'll try to touch on a few sort of disciplines in video game productions. Since Web3 games are still games, I would say a lot of these disciplines will carry over. And metaverse, for the most part, the experience and the technology that's being used, just like graphics rendering, user experience, is also very similar to video game production. So I'm going to use what I know and to share with you, and I'll try to make this video brief. Number one, pre-productions. So before you start any project, you're not supposed to just jump right into it. You need to know what you're building and how are you going to build it. And some projects, including movies, they spend a long time in pre-production just to get everything lined up. And at this phase, you do not need a lot of people. In video games, we have a few functional positions, important ones. Obviously, number one is artist, number two is programmers, and number three is a game designer. So you have to have all these three. And ideally, you will have a producer who's like a project manager and who's coordinating all these things. And he's not working on any one of the three disciplines I just mentioned. So that you have a full-time one person just to overlook everyone's progress. But if you're budget strapped, you want to make do with less, then maybe have one of the three guys to be the producer or project manager as well. Okay, so during the pre-production, again, very few people, you're not making a lot of demo. In fact, you should not be making any demo. And I have used storyboard illustrators at this phase too for pre-productions. And obviously those are practices borrowed from movie industry. Number two, production. So you have figured out what you're going to build and how are you going to build it. So this is the time that you ramp up the entire team because you know exactly what you need to do and you need to do it quick. So you will staff up, depends on what you think what the critical path is. You know, if this is going to be technical heavy, you may want to just have programmers first to get the underlying infrastructure working before you hire any artist. So yeah, they don't need to all go at the same pace. For games, Web3 games, you probably want the game designer from day one. And even in pre-productions, because there's a lot of work that you need the game designers to do. Let me talk about a few phases in the production phase. The first one is a prototype phase. So you want to quickly put together, you can call it a demo, and the code, for the most part, you're probably going to throw away because you do it quickly and you're probably using some kind of prototyping tool. And it just sort of shows what you're trying to build. And that's a prototype. And then after that, typically in game industry, we have a milestone called playable. So this is no longer a demo, this is interactive. It could be a demo, but it needs to be interactive demo. So that's why we call it playable. And a playable, I guess the spirit of that is to, you know, get the key people to feel what it is like to be in the metaverse or to be in the game. What's it like to move around? What's it like to do animations and, you know, hit the other characters if that's involved in your game. But first playable is basically, it's playable and there's some key gameplay mechanism already implemented. All right, the next one is called mini game.
So in minigame, this is, yeah, let me give you the old school sort of hardcore definition. So minigame is a miniature version of the entire game. So if you're in an MMOG, it's just one map or one area, but it's got all the functions. So in minigame, all functionalities need to be completed. You can have bugs, you can have A bugs, B bugs, but this is a subset of the entire game. So minigame is actually a very heavy duty milestone. It needs to have all features implemented, but you don't have all of the assets because assets cost a lot of time and a lot of money to build. And then somewhere after that, you may actually want to put in MVP. MVP wasn't around, back in the 90s, but now people are doing MVP, minimum viable product. You will probably insert that somewhere between minigame and alpha because you may want to reduce the scope if you run out of time. So you can have another milestone after minigame, and that could be a candidate for shipping if you're out of time. Right after that is alpha. The definition of alpha is you could have crash box, but everything is in the game. If you play it properly, if you're doing everything right, you should be able to play the game. It may crash. That's alpha. And then you go to beta. Obviously, there's a lot of different definitions for alpha and beta, but for beta, you don't want to have crash box, and you can have closed beta, you can have open beta. Obviously, closed beta is for internal and with some friends and family, or you sign on limited, like 100, 200 people for closed beta. And then open beta, obviously, is open to the public. All right. And a rule of thumb that I used to do is at alpha, you could have A bugs. At beta, you could have B bugs, but you're supposed to get rid of them. So when you ship it, you definitely don't have A bugs and B bugs. And you may or may not have C bugs. And if you're really good, you'll be only looking at D. These are, features that doesn't hurt anything. It looks kind of weird. It may or may not bother you. So it's less crucial now that these days we can update things over the internet. Back in my days, once you burn a CD-ROM, it's in the CD-ROM. So I get, a lot of times we need to fix A, B, C, D bugs. So, by the time it's on the CD, it's near perfect. All right, number 3, QA and stress test. So somewhere, when you get close to alpha, at least a month before alpha, you need to have QA people. And QA is a serious position. Just don't think anyone can be QA. So these days, a lot of people are outsourcing their QA to external groups. And part of it is compatibility testing. It's very specialized. We want to know if your game runs on certain configurations and not on other configurations. And it's their job to find out how compatible your game is before you ship it. It's important to have that because if you don't, after you launch it, you're going to get all kinds of problems. And most people, when the game crashes or just not working on their device, PC, mobile, console, whatever, they're not going to even bother to tell you. They may not even bother to tell you. They're just going to give you a bad review, bad rating. And then one more thing is, since this is online in nature, you need to have a stress test. And there are different kinds of stress tests. I'm not going to get into it, but stress test is a serious task all on its own. You can emulate real players. You can test it on the server side exclusively. You can have fake clients. You can have real clients. Okay. Number 4, what are the KPIs you want to track? In game industry, we track DAU, daily active users. So this shows the engagement level. And then session length. So in average, every player who goes through the game, how long do they stay in the game? And then number of sessions. So some games you may play shorter amount of time, but players come back 3 to 4 times, 4 to 5 times per day. So it depends on different kind of games. MMORPGs in general have 1, maybe 2 number of sessions, but each session is like 2 hours or more. In average, back in the day, when MMOG was super popular, the average playtime per day per player
was 4 hours. All right. And then payment conversion. So you can track different things. You can track how long do they stay on this page. You know, a lot of websites do this. And what were they doing on this page? When they quit the game, what was the last thing they did? So there's a lot of things to track. And I want to add, A/B test is also important. Good teams are doing A/B tests all day long, all the time. Multiple A/B tests ongoing. Whenever you have any doubt, do A/B test. You know, don't guess, don't use your common sense. Let the players tell you with their behaviors. Number 5, tutorials. Don't forget to build in tutorials, because you should not expect players to know how you designed the game and why you designed it this way. So tutorials are important, and please don't make that your afterthought. Number 6, you would have server-side programmers, client-side programmers, you will have artists. So basically, number 6 point is, what kind of talents do you need? So you need at least game designers, artists, and artists, obviously, there's like UI artists, there's 3D artists. I'm not gonna bore you to death with it. Animators, and obviously a lot of people outsource these days, and a lot of people buy assets. I would say doing everything from scratch is the most expensive thing to do. So I would think twice before going down that route. One rule of thumb in project management is a good project manager would beg, steal, or borrow resources to get the project going. So I think to show that you guys can do it, I would just buy assets initially, or even just find free assets online. Okay, number 7, the last point. How do you go to market? So yeah, I mean, this presentation is about how to make good products, but you could potentially build a good product, but you don't have a good marketing strategy. So you got to ask yourself, are you going after a Web3 community? It could be too small. And are they players or are they investors? You know, so and then you're going after Web2 gamer community, the 5 billion gamer community. But you got to remember, that's everything. That's people playing on the phone, on the Switch, on consoles, on PCs, on browsers, all of that. So, you know, you're only targeting the subset. So, and where do you go? Do you go to Epic Store? Do you advertise it? Do you buy traffic? So that you need to know that. And then if you're going after the general masses, that's even bigger can of worms. Then your marketing will be totally different. I'm from game industry, so I wouldn't even know where to go. I don't know, go to CNN or TV, get it on TV, buy TV ads. Best Fiends did that. They buy TV ads, but you know, they would target time and target where to advertise during what time. So I hope you're not going after general masses. That's a tough one and expensive. And user acquisition. So that's getting more popular. It's expensive, but it's accessible. So always work with a smaller budget. Make sure you don't lose too much money, and learn as you go. There isn't a lot of labels for the traffic, for the users, for Web3. You know, not really. There's starting to have some. If you go to certain exchange website, you may get tagged that you're a crypto user. If you have wallets, you may get tagged for crypto users. But that market is not very mature right now. Okay, I hope these 7 points will help you. And I'll put this on LinkedIn video, and I'll put it on YouTube. And under YouTube, in the description, I will write down my notes there as well. All right, thank you. Enjoy.